welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about how I ended up in the Philippines for university. So I am a first year nursing student at Holy Name University. I have the merch to prove it, and it has been quite the experience. I've written down everything in my journal, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I can already tell this is gonna be an extremely long video, so grab some snacks and let's just get right on to the topics. So for those who don't know me, my name is Dane. I am 19 years old and an aspiring nurse. Everything that I've done school-wise or educational-wise has been with the goal of becoming a registered nurse with a bachelor's degree in mind. So I arrived in the Philippines on April 16th, 2018, and I've been living here ever since. I do go home to America every time we have breaks. So I went home during sem break in October, and I went home during Christmas break in December, and I'm gonna go home again after our summer semester in May. First step that I had to go through in order to be here right now making this video is to make an informed decision, and I can't stress this enough. There are a lot of things that you need to consider. Obviously, moving to a whole new country apart from where you grew up is a big move in itself, so you really have to make an informed decision. Part of making an informed decision is internalizing with yourself whether nursing really is for you. I say this because I kind of blamed my parents, told them like, this is your fault, you wanted me to do nursing, this is why I'm suffering, but that wasn't really how I actually felt. So in times like that, when you feel like you were just thrown into another country to study a course that you're not even passionate about, something that will really ground you is your self-desire. Whenever I would get into like rebuttals with my parents, which I got into a lot the first semester that I was studying, it always ended up with me apologizing because, you know, I was in the wrong. It was so wrong for me to say that my parents forced me to be here, because I clearly came here on my own free will. My decision was of course guided by the insights of my parents as young adults. I don't want to say children because we're not children anymore. We're in college. We're college age young adults. As the young adults, we tend to be super impulsive and we want to go based on what we're feeling, based on what's in our heart. Adults will kind of like snap you out of that, because decisions need to be made using your brain. You need to use logic. Your heart is too busy pumping blood to the rest of your organs to be making these decisions for you. So you need to use your brain. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is touch base with yourself about if you're really ready for this type of challenge, and if you feel like you have a mindset to conquer this challenge. It's not easy. I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. I've been a pretty independent person my whole life. The second that my mom left me to go back to America, I felt like my world was crumbling apart. I felt so out of my element. They say that your life begins outside of your comfort zone. So apparently for the past 18 years, I haven't been living. Another aspect of making an informed decision is to do your research. Compare and contrast different schools that you want to go to. Look at what their requirements are. Look at when their due dates are. Different schools have different policies on foreign students, and I was technically considered a foreign student because I had already had my American citizenship. So something that I had to do, which I recommend doing, reacquiring your Philippine citizenship, meaning that I was once a Philippine citizen because I was born here, and then when I gained my American citizenship, I lost said Philippine citizenship. So when we went to the Philippine consulate, I had to reacquire my Philippine citizenship. I just said citizenship so many times. That process is a whole process in itself. I remember we spent a whole day at the consulate waiting, and it was really long, but you know, it was well worth it because as a dual citizen, I don't have to worry about my duration of stay here in the Philippines. So I can go in and out of America and the Philippines just like all freely. But I do know that if you have your Philippine citizenship, you do not have to pay a foreign student's fee. It's an additional 10,000 pesos at HNU. I feel like that's subject to change, and it may be different in other schools, but at HNU the foreigner's fee is an additional 10,000 pesos each time you pay tuition, so it's like an additional $200. Look at the more benefits of dual citizenship. You should not just rely on this video, but actually do your own research and look further into what your requirements are. But essentially, I went to the Philippine consulate, provided all the paperwork that they needed, paid all the fees that they wanted me to pay, and I got both of my passports. Something that my dad recommended to have is a folder or a binder with all of your important documents, and this is just the one that has a zipper, and it's like the accordion style folder. You can put your dual citizenship papers, your passports, and any important documents that pertains to you. When I was in the process of actually moving and traveling, it's just nice to have one specific place to hold all your documents. Now that I'm already settled in here in the Philippines, I still place my tuition receipts in here and anything that pertains to me. But when I do fly, I bring these two passports, and so this is the American one, this is the Philippine one, and what immigration would do is they would stamp both because I'm traveling with both. Yeah, this folder is really important to have so that you're really organized with your papers, especially if you have any issues at immigration, you would know where to look for it already. So I arrived here April 16th, 2018, and the power just went out. It's more fun in the Philippines, but at least it's not nighttime. When I arrived in the Philippines, I went straight to the school and I got the registration forms. I filled it out. I paid the enrollment fee. I think I arrived on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and my test was scheduled on that Saturday, so I had a few days to meet the requirements. When the day of the entrance exam came, I was super nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But the entrance exam was basically like any standardized test that you would take, like the SAT. It had an English portion, science, math, and spatial recognition, which the spatial recognition one, I had no idea what that was. So that was that. After I took the entrance exam, I had to wait until I got a text from the College of Nursing saying that I passed. And I actually saved the screenshot. I'll put it up here, and I was so dramatic about it. I put it on Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, I passed the entrance exam. And you wouldn't believe how happy I felt at that moment because I didn't understand a big chunk of it, which was the spatial recognition. My mind automatically went to the worst case scenario, which is I failed and I have to go back. I wasted all this money and I'm just gonna start back at square one. When I got the text, I was able to move forward with my enrollment process, and I went to talk to the dean, and the dean of nursing was really nice. It's part of the enrollment process for them to interview you and to kind of ask you where you are in your education, especially if you're a foreign student. They might not credit some of the courses that you've taken at school. So when I was being interviewed with the dean, she basically asked me just a few questions to try to place me in the right section that is for me, like how far I've gone in my science courses. I was going to be placed in section A, which when I speak about sections, I mean like different classes. So with nursing here, it's block sectioning, meaning that the dean puts you in a block, or yeah, so there would be block A, B, C, D, E, depending on how many first year students applied and got in. And each block would have a specific schedule. Now section A, D, and E were non-STEM courses, which STEM is a specialization in grades 11 and 12 here in the Philippines. So if you did not do a STEM strand, you would need to take an additional chemistry class, which sections A, D, and E were taking, and sections B and C were considered the STEM students, so they didn't have to take that extra organic and inorganic chemistry class. She was about to put me in section A, but then I showed her on my transcript that I had taken chemistry in high school and I had also taken it again in college. So because I ended up doing a year of college in America, so she was like, okay, and she put me in section B, which means I had like a little less classes than the rest of the sections, which was nice. A side note, these are the courses that I had to take for semester 1. Most schools in America would separate anatomy and physiology, but we had to take it together. So it was anatomy and physiology together, lecture and lab. We had to have 108 hours of lab time, and we also had Fit Me, movement enhancement, which is the first PE class of 3. Then we also had GEC Math, GEC Self, and GEC STS. Basically, any GEC course is a general education course. NCM 100 for HNU is theoretical foundations in nursing. So these are your classes of your nursing theorists that helped form the foundation essentially of nursing practice. It's important to know these theories because this is what you're gonna base your care on. We also had NSTP 1, which is National Service Training Program, and this is a mandatory community service course, and also Witness Science, Environment, and Religion. This course is mandatory because HNU is a Catholic school, so religion will always be taught. I'm not sure how many more religion classes we have to take, but we've taken Witness Sci last semester. So, and these are a total of 22 units for all 9 classes. For second sem, these are the courses that we had. I finished all of these already. By the way, the red ones are the classes that I don't have final grades in yet because my teachers didn't put it in yet. It's not because I failed. So for second semester, we had FitFe, which is fitness exercises, GEC Ethics, Micropara 100 and Micropara 100 Lab, which is microbiology and parasitology with lab. Again, most courses in America would separate these two, but you know, Philippines just likes to mash them together, so there's that. We also have NCM 101 health assessment, and we also have the lecture and also the RLE, or the related learning experience. This class we learned the various assessment procedures from head to toe, and we would listen to how the procedure is done in lecture, and we would get quizzes and stuff during lecture as well to see if we were paying attention. And during RLE is when we would perform the procedure in a return demonstrations. NCM 102 health education. One of the many roles of a nurse is to do health teaching, so that course just tells you the technicalities of all of that, or what factors you should look for in your client so that you can deliver health teaching properly. And then NCM 103 and 103 RLE are fundamentals of nursing practice. So this is anything from bed making to flower arrangements to basic cleaning operations, catheter insertions, intravenous therapy, how to assist the patient in a bedpan and stuff like that. The only fundamentals of nursing practice that we red-demmed was flower arrangements and basic cleaning operations. So that was pretty interesting. And then NSTP 2, which is the continuation of the first NSTP we took in first sem. And this NSTP we actually had to go out in the community, because in NSTP 1 we were just in the classroom, but NSTP 2 we were in the community and putting in our actual work and sweat into doing community service. And then WITSOC is the second witness class that I had to take in, because again, I go to a Catholic school. And then because nursing is just so amazing, they're making us take a summer semester. So over the summer, we're supposed to take biochemistry, biochem lab, and the third PE class, physical activities towards health and fitness. And this summer semester starts on Monday, and I've been on break for the past 2 days, which is why I was able to film this video. I was placed in section B, which I'm so proud of my section because throughout the whole first year we've maintained a higher average compared to the other sections, which makes me feel so good because nursing is already so hard, but I was placed in the section filled with really motivated and studious people, so that in itself challenges me to study more and to study harder. Having the reputation of like, oh, you're in section B, you're in the smart section, that's kind of like, I don't know, it makes me feel good. Affirmations like that kind of ease the pain of loneliness and homesickness, which I'll get into about later. So yeah, after you pass the entrance exams, you talk to the dean, you get your section placement, you're essentially all enrolled. And the workload for first year was a little bit challenging for me because I wasn't used to taking 10 classes at a time. HNU is a lot more relaxed compared to other schools. It's not to say that they don't teach at all. The teachers are really approachable, which I appreciate. First year is the time for you to, you know, get to know your clinical instructors, to get to know their teaching styles, because I was completely at a loss because I was so used to the teaching styles of the teachers in America that I didn't know how to adjust, but eventually I got there. So that's basically the enrollment process. So now in this video I'm going to be speaking about specific experiences that I experienced. So I remember walking into the first day of school, we had to introduce ourselves because obviously we were just a whole bunch of like people that didn't really know each other. There were already some groups because some people came from the same high school, so they already knew each other, but majority of us were from different parts of Bohol, and me, different parts of the world. I was somewhere in the middle, so there were a lot of people who were talking before me, and when I stood up to speak, everybody's mouth dropped because I guess they weren't expecting me to sound like the way I sound. They told me that they were shocked at my accent and they were kind of intimidated by my accent, and I was like, what? No. If you are really slang in your English, like how they call it here, you're going to get a few looks, not like looks of disgust, but like looks of, whoa, where is she from? Like that. A lot of Filipinos are really interested in going abroad. Whenever they see or hear like foreigners and stuff, especially ones that are working side by side with them in the classrooms, just know that you're gonna get a little bit of extra attention, but don't let it get to your head because it's literally not that big of a deal. You are going to get so close to your classmates. I started off as like a stranger, like an outsider, but now after going to school for a whole year with my classmates and spending long hours at school with them, I was shook. I was kind of surprised at how close we got. What are your messages for Dane? I agree. This is Linya. Kamusta kayo lahat? Hi everyone! Sige, long life. Inibalik niyo mo dapat. Ano? Nasa likod mo na ayaw. Wait, message niyo mo na. Ano yung qualifications niya? World Cup Center. No! Yay! Center. Hi! Donya D and Blay. What are we doing here?
So we are having our recollection and we are on our lunch break. Agad may imong kuko. Yay! Nakonsulimate ko.
Hi! Welcome to the vlog! Hi! Welcome to today's vlog! Hi! You deserve it. Hi, vlog! Uy! Hi!
Hi, vlog!
Aki!
Hey!
She loves
vlog,
camera.
white pink.
We've been through a lot together. We've been through surprise quizzes, surprise exams, surprise return demonstrations, and we've kind of just like learned, we've developed our own insiders, our own jokes. We got really close and we formed this bond that I didn't expect to form because I'm more of an introverted person. I like to keep to myself, but school here in the Philippines really brought me out of my shell. I was the only foreigner in my section up until we got Jean, who was a French foreign exchange student about halfway through first semester. So I was the only foreigner in my section, but out of my whole batch, like the whole first year, there was a total of 5 of us, and I'm friends with all 4 of them, and we're really close. We kind of bond over the fact that, wow, this is so not America. There are 3 of us who are from California, myself, Vivian, and Marie. There's one person who's from Chicago. What was his name again? I'm so sorry. Timothy. His name is Timothy. He's from Chicago, the Windy City. Last but not least, we also have Janelle, and she's from New Zealand. So all of us kind of bonded over the fact that we're so far away from home, and it's really nice to have people that can actually relate to how you feel, because empathy can go such a long way. I can't tell you how many times Vivian and I have had like long talks about why the heck we're really here, and we just end up motivating each other. And it's really important to communicate with other people who may be in the same situation as you so that you don't feel as alone. Something that really had me shook quite literally was an earthquake. So I had experienced my first earthquake here in the Philippines on, I forgot what day it was, but it was a small earthquake. It was a 4.5 magnitude earthquake, and I was sitting in the library studying for my health assessment class, and all of a sudden I just feel the whole building shake, and I looked up and everyone was like eyeing each other, and everyone all of a sudden went underneath the tables, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? So I just followed them. I went underneath the table as well, and when the shaking stopped, everyone like ran outside of the library. The librarian was like, just leave all your stuff here, but I was like, forget it, my books were expensive. Grabbed everything, grabbed my backpack, and I ran to the exit, and I ran so fast because I literally thought we were gonna die. I was on the 3rd floor and Vivian was in the 5th floor, and the only exits in our buildings was on the 4th floor and the 3rd floor. So my mistake was going up the ramp to go exit on the 4th floor when there was, because I didn't, in the moment of panic, I didn't realize that there was an exit outside the hallway of the library. So I just dipped and ran, and when I saw Vivian, I can't tell you the amount of relief that I felt. We were both in shock because we've never experienced something like that, but a lot of the students there were acting so chill, like, oh, this is nothing compared to 2013, because in 2013 there was like a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, I think, and it literally shook the whole island of Bohol, and it had a lot of damage, and it created a lot of damage. So everyone was like, oh, this earthquake is no big deal. Some were even laughing. I was like, are you guys serious? Like, I was so, me and Vivian were so scared. Fortunately, the father presidents ended class or suspended classes that day, so we were just able to go home and collect ourselves. But honestly, ever since that incident, I have never been inside the library because I'm so afraid of going into like big buildings that have multiple stories, because I didn't know that the Philippines was susceptible to earthquakes. But now that I know, I'm just super paranoid and anxious all the time. You know, it's a natural disaster that we can't control, so that really reminded me of how vulnerable we are as people. No matter how big and strong and macho and how put together you think you are, one little shake from Mother Earth is going to humble you back down to what you really are. That is a different feeling of vulnerability. Moving to a whole different island or a whole different country aside, away from the people that you love, has a really big emotional toll. And I didn't think that I was an emotional person. I thought that I had a very good grip on my emotions. I thought that I'd be able to control them. But I have honestly cried so much this past year that I'm surprised I still have tears to cry. The things I cry about is mainly just the feeling of loneliness, because at the end of the day, you don't have the distractions of schoolwork, when you don't have like any activities to do with your friends. At the end of the day, when you're, you know, about to go to sleep, you really get to think like, wow, I'm really here in this country by myself. And that is what gets me a lot. I get really emotional, especially when I talk to my parents. We talk a lot over Facebook Messenger because, you know, we're trying to avoid those international fees. So I really, even though I'm so far away from my parents, I have really my reliance on them has increased a lot more. I didn't realize how much I needed my parents until I was away from them, which is something that I wish I didn't feel, because that makes me feel like I took them for granted while I was still living under their roof, which is definitely something that you don't want to do. You feel lonely, you feel like you miss home, and you feel like you want to go back, because home will always be home. And my parents do a really good job of talking me through what I'm feeling. This is gonna get emotional. Yeah, I'm super thankful that through my emotional outbursts, my parents know just exactly what to say. They know how to keep me motivated. They know how to ground me and bring me back down to earth when they know how to bring me back down to earth when my mind spirals in all these different directions, which I could not be more thankful for. Oh girl, I'm to drink some water. By the way, this is my favorite water brand, Absolute. If you ever move here, vacation here, this is the water to get. I often felt guilty for feeling the way that I felt, because there's literally so many other kids that I go to school with and they don't have the luxuries that I have, and yet here I am complaining, saying that I don't want to be here, or saying that I'm having a hard time here. I felt like I didn't have a right to complain, because essentially everything was handed to me on a silver platter. At the same time, we're all human, we all process our emotions differently, and it's completely normal to feel the way you feel. So I forgot what my train of thought was, but basically I do get homesick, I do miss my family a lot, but you know, I just have to keep reminding myself that this is only temporary, that after I finish my degree here, I will first off be debt free. I wouldn't have to owe a penny to my name when I finish my education here, and I would go home to America, because that's already a given, unless a divine intervention occurs and I fall in love with the Philippines, which that has yet to happen. I keep just reminding myself that I can go back to America, work as a nurse, and I won't ever have to be away from my parents again. In this video, I've said my parents a lot. My parents did this, did that for me, and I honestly don't know how I'll be able to repay my parents for always looking out for what's best for me. There's always challenges and different obstacles that you have to face, but what it all boils down to is how you are able to remotivate yourself. And my motivation is the faces of my parents, my brothers. I'm very familiar with the feeling of homesickness, your work not being enough, and the feeling that, you know, you just feel so out of your element and it's so uncomfortable. But you know, I always manage to bring myself back down to earth, and if it's not me, it's my parents who, you know, remind me that this is only temporary. This is a learning experience and you can either run from it or face it head on. Honestly, I'm just so tired of going back to square one. I'm so tired of being a first-year nursing student that now that I'm at the end of my first year, about to be a second-year nursing student, I can say that I'm so glad I did not quit this time, because there have been so many routes that I could have took, and there are so many routes that I started to take but then turned around. This is the only route that I've been completely consistent with. If you honestly just do the work, you'll reap the rewards for it later. This was an extremely long video. I hope what I said makes sense, but that's it for my first year experience. You know, it was a lot of adjustment on my part. It was a whole lot of swallowing my pride and just getting used to the life that they live here. Adjustments are never easy, so all I can say is that if you do decide to, you know, not necessarily follow my footsteps, because I'm clearly not the first person to do this. If you decide that nursing school in the Philippines is for you, then you just have to be, you know, motivated, be headstrong. You know, it's okay to fall. Whenever you do fall, the most important thing is that you get back up and you do the damn thing. So that's it, I guess. If you have any more questions, any specific examples that you'd want me to clarify or elaborate on, please leave them down in the comments below. But as of right now, I'm all talked out. The power is out, there's no air conditioning, so I'm probably gonna go to the mall and cool off. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Note, I really forgot to plug my Instagram, so you can follow me at dandelion.bsn on Instagram to keep up with my life as a nursing student. Here I'm going to post pictures, quotes about the things that we do for school, and Instagram is a lot more accessible to me, whereas in YouTube I have to sit down and edit and post the video, but Instagram I can just reach through my phone. So this is definitely a better way to keep up with my nursing journey. So again, it's at Dandelion BSN, and your follow would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.